Okay, so in this video, I'm going to basically show you how I revived one of my current clients' email marketing list. This is an e-commerce brand. They're hosted on Klaviyo, the ESP, and they use Shopify. And so I've gotten a lot of questions about managing a client or a brand owner's, hey, my email list health sucks. Like my open rates are garbage. Like I'm not getting any sales. Like what's going on? What's happening? So in this pretty short video, we're just going to go over how to just like quickly diagnose what's happening, and then how to immediately take action, and then how to do some ongoing maintenance. And so I have a little text that I can show, but first I want you to see here. Before, they were waiting to kick up traffic. They were doing about 66K in December, and before we really started managing the list like full on, we had started to put up some flows. They were only at 12%. Their flows were getting 18%, 24%, pretty low, like sub 20. If we go to their campaigns and we go to the last 90 days, you can see here just how bad it is, right? It was at 11%. So it's pretty bad, right? So to pull up this thread here, let's delete that. A client just said, hey, we did retention.com for a month. It screwed my deliverability. Is there any way I could fix this? Should I snag a new domain or something? Open rates dropped 10 to 20% from normal. So the client set up retention, right? And what retention is, it's basically an email scraper plugin that integrates with Klaviyo, which is technically non-compliant. So what these guys do is they buy a bunch of data and email lists from third-party data providers. And so they have a list of probably millions and millions of emails that have been collected through either third-party cookies or compliantly through a variety of different means. It could be a website purchase, email list opt-in, an ad, anything. And then that data is sold to retention, then downloads a cookie or a pixel. When you go on someone's website but you don't enter your email, you are registering a view, and they can attach the IP address to that email. And if that email matches the third-party scraper, a data list, in this case retentions, they can technically feign a compliant opt-in because they've sold the rights to ownership of your data. So it's technically illegal, but they've done it in this like workaround loophole where they found other people's list that you opted into technically, and now they're using that to help e-commerce brands boost revenue. But what this actually does is it can reduce deliverability because there's bots, there's low quality emails, there's people who aren't really like necessarily wanting to see these emails, so they'll mark it as spam, and the open rates tend to be lower, and that list can inflate. So you need to suppress and delete those emails even. So that was one thing he did. Is there anything else? Because your open rates aren't very good, and that sometimes doesn't necessarily nuke your deliverability. Another thing to think about as we went to diagnose it, I basically asked, did you do any giveaways? Did you do any list buying? Did you do like a raffle? Did you buy a list from someone? Anything that's not compliantly opting into your pop-up can negatively affect your email list health. And another thing is just like sending infrastructure. So we just said, hey, coming into February 1st, we started with them in December, January. We had to make sure that we are compliant with new sender requirements. And I'm going to link all this in bio, right? So Gmail and Yahoo's came out with new requirements. You need to have DMARC, you need to have a sender domain, you need to have unsubscribes that are really clear, and you got to keep spam complaints low. So just dotting our I's, crossing our T's. And then I said to my managers, let's approach strategy from the perspective of improving deliverability. And I let them know what happened. And so when we start doing campaigns and anything else, we need to come from the perspective of that's not healthy, right? And so I just said, hey, what's a history of the list? Kind of what I went over before. And he says, everything's pretty much opted in besides some retention stuff. And I said, okay, great. Let's suppress or delete those retention acquired emails, and let's repurpose some of the flows that we completed. So basically what we did is when we went live in the very beginning, we only put up a few flows and we turn off all the other flows, right? And so in the meantime, when this was happening, you always want to create good performance for clients. And even though we have like really good high performing flows, people aren't seeing them. And so one thing you need to do first off when you're repairing an email list is if you have a current email list and a brand that's not performing but is engaging with people and acquiring traffic, you need to turn off like all the flows except the highest performing ones. And the highest performing flows are abandoned checkout, welcome series, product abandoned, and like post purchase. So only keep on 3 to 4 flows. He didn't have many flows to begin with. We just turned on a couple of our flows instead, and anything else he had we turned off. That's still not going to help that much. So what we also did, let's go to January. Let's go, if I can go like that, is we created a SMS welcome series. So this only has 900 deliveries in the last 30 days because we had just turned it on. This is a great way if as like a workaround, if you're acquiring traffic and people are looking to see the offer or the discount, give them the discount via SMS, and you're immediately going to start turning on revenue, and you're going to shift revenue to SMS. When you are using a pop-up to acquire email and SMS, there's like typically a split. Like more people will probably opt in the email. If you have more of a Gen Z brand, a lot of people will opt in more to SMS. They'll get the discount, they'll unsubscribe, or they'll get the discount and purchase. So in this case, SMS wasn't set up, email health list was nuked, but he had a solid SMS list and he had solid traffic coming. So we started with an SMS welcome list to start. So the first thing we did was turn off all flows, turn on our new flows, and only turn on a couple of the most high active flows. And then after that, we created a welcome series SMS to capture any traffic he was getting. And so that started producing revenue. The second thing we did is we went to campaigns and we started setting to the engaged list. So if your deliverability is nuked, you can't send to your main newsletter, right? So his main newsletter had 26,000 people. It's just not going to work. You're going to keep nuking your deliverability. What we did instead is we started sending to 30-day engaged. Immediately, we ripped 34%. Funny, this was probably getting more sales, and it's almost a similar amount. Newsletter 11% versus a smaller 30-day engaged 30%. It's splitting hairs, but look, we doubled the click-through rate. Because of iOS 15, and I'll look and changes to email, deliverability, Klaviyo. I'll link this as well. So there's a couple things that happened that basically made it harder to understand and analyze open and click-through rates. And one of those was like obfuscating or hiding how people show whether they opened your email or not. So it's hard basically to discern whether or not open actually isn't open. But I mean, that click is double, right? And so as we progressed and we started sending some of our flows to the 30-day engaged list, the open rates started precipitously increasing, right? One thing to think about is cadence. So we started sending emails consistently. We started tightening the segment. And also, by the way, I have a master deliverability guide that I wrote from scratch that goes over all of this. And you guys should definitely check this out because it's really helpful in understanding like deliverability from every single angle. And so I highly recommend viewing this if you want to really improve your deliverability or have a really good sending infrastructure to set yourself up for maintaining good deliverability. So to go back to Klaviyo, yeah, click-through rate just started going through the roof from 11% to up to 64%. And we could probably start opening up the list even more. The 30-day engaged has 6,000 people. We have 26,000 people on the list. I would expect campaign revenue to double or triple at the very least. Once you start hitting over 40, 50, 60%, and that it's hard because you can't really understand sender requirements until you see it in action. And Google and Yahoo isn't just going to say, hey, you can now open up your engagement. You have to test it yourself. So we did a test. We tightened the engagement, did a couple of things, or tightened the segment, and we saw that there was increased engagement. Once we start seeing increased engagement, we can now broaden the segment. And so in these future emails, I'd probably recommend we go to 60 or 90-day engage and keep seeing whether those open rates precipitously drop or stay the same. And so that's how you can revive a list. It's quite simple. So if we go back to our results here, and then we go to the last 30 days, remember we were at 11% before. He did kick up traffic quite a bit. We turned on all flows, and now we're at 25%. This is a supplement brand, and we should be getting 30, 40, 50% attributed, honestly, with the amount of recurring purchases. You can see that we turned on the welcome email. We have the SMS. See that there is a split. It's about a third or so, almost a fourth. Is that a fourth? I don't even know what 9 times 4 is, brothers. I need more matcha. But yeah, these look great, right? You can see these campaigns are producing now thousands in revenue. They have healthy email rates, and it was pretty simple. We suppressed or deleted the retention emails. We started turning off the flows. We turned on an SMS welcome series. And then we really tighten the segment for engaged sending. And that's pretty much it. And then if you send consistently, you're optimizing your email health. You have a sunset flow setup, all the things that you could really do, cleaning the list, all that, it's all covered here. So I really recommend you checking out this master deliverability guide I created, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And that's how to revive an email list when the deliverability starts to get nuked.